Thanks for listening to Westplex Talk. Find out more at westplextalk.com. Now, it's back to the two guys who were described by talk show expert Jeff Allen from News Talk STL as the best talk duo he's heard since Charles Jaco and Peanuts the Squirrel. It's Brad and John.
I don't even know where to start from all of the things that have been said that are just wrong.
Thank you, MEC. Okay, Peanuts the Squirrel. That, believe it or not, on Election Day yesterday, that was still a hot topic. Now, you want to hear the bizarre part of the Peanuts the Squirrel story?
I do.
Okay, I heard this and I thought to myself, this can't be true, okay? The Peanuts the Squirrel, and if you know the crazy thing, I think it was in New York City, wasn't that where it was, New York City?
Yeah, I think so.
The guy finds this squirrel and he starts making YouTube channel and a bunch of different social media channels with this squirrel, and he puts clothes on him and the squirrel does weird stuff and stuff like that. So the city, somebody in his apartment or a building where he lived narked him out that he had this squirrel, and the city shows up and they essentially they walked him out. So as what I heard in one matter of fact, it was on our station, it was on with Armstrong and Getty. They frog marched him. What does that mean, frog marching? What is a frog march?
I don't know. It sounds something very militaristic.
That's what I thought. Okay, they frog marched him out, him and his girlfriend or wife, whatever he is, and they set him on the curb outside while they went through his house and stuff like that. Okay, here's the interesting aspect of this, which I find somewhat that nobody's telling the story about this. Him and his girlfriend or wife, whatever they are, have an OnlyFans account. Okay, did you know this part of the story?
Oh, no, I didn't know that.
And since the Peanuts the Squirrel thing has taken off, which apparently he has done some promotion, he's done some cross-promotion for their OnlyFans account, the rumor is in 1 month they made $800,000 off their OnlyFans account.
Okay, hold on, and let's pause here for a second and do a bit of a reset. There are people who have OnlyFans who are music groups and entertainers. Is this gentleman and his wife, are they doing, intimate things as part of OnlyFans, or are they like musical performers or entertainers or something?
Well, they're entertainers, and I don't think they play any instruments except each other, if that makes any sense.
Oh, okay. All right. So now, wait a minute. So was this whole Peanut thing just a shtick to drive people to OnlyFans?
That's what people are saying now. They've been out. See, now, it's interesting. You brought up an interesting point because of the fact that when you say OnlyFans, people immediately think of porn, right? That's what you think of, right?
Yeah, they do. That's a stereotype, but that's not true.
But that's not true. You're exactly right. There are musicians that have OnlyFans accounts. And if you don't know what OnlyFans is all about, essentially it's like a website. It's almost like if you know what a Patreon account is, it's sort of like that. You go on a website, and depending upon who puts their site up, some of them like say, hey, if you go on here, you pay $10 a month, I'll send you pictures of me at the park, I mean, and maybe with no clothes on, but anyway, that kind of thing. And if you pay the silver membership is I'll do this, and the gold membership is you can DM me and tell me what you want, and I'll show it to you. You know what I mean? That kind of stuff.
You're exactly right.
Okay, so I'm going like, see, and the crazy thing about this is that, remember we had the controversy with the two teachers out there in Franklin County, the one lady at St. Clair who was paying off her student loan on her OnlyFans account. But see, once again, I will say this. I'm like this libertarian kind of guy. I'm going like, if she's teaching at school and she's not, saying to her kids, matter of fact, the interesting part of this is nobody at the school knew about this. It wasn't like she was saying, hey, you kids in my class, you know me by day as Miss Smith, but by night I'm Mrs. Smith, and you can go to my OnlyFans account. Okay, I say that's off limits. But somebody leaked it, or somebody found out about it, and they sent like an anonymous letter to the Board of Education. I think that's how it went. And I think the guys out there in St. Clair used to be the head at New Haven schools. I think his name is Kyle Cruz, and Kyle Cruz had a meltdown over this, and they fired the lady. Now, once again, I have a problem with that. I really do, John. I mean, how do you feel?
Well, I don't know. I think that you don't want teachers, to your point, using their classroom as the top of a giant funnel, so to speak, and pardon any pun that Brad would make there, but you don't want a teacher creating a giant funnel of students. But if they're not doing that, I mean, I see your point, Brad. Like, if it has nothing to do with what they're doing as a teacher, but I think also the flip side of that, Brad, is can you imagine if you had a teacher who, if school dismissed at 3 p.m., at 3:01 p.m., they started posting a bunch of pro-Trump messages to their social media? You would have some outraged liberals coming out and saying, it's inappropriate for a teacher to express their political opinion, and we don't like this. I mean, you could get fired from a school district for tweets that are political. Why shouldn't you get fired for, showing your lady bits on the internet?
But I don't think you should be fired for any of that kind of stuff.
I'm not saying I disagree, but you see where the sticky wicket is there, Brad.
Okay. How do I tell the story and not expose somebody? Somebody that I knew professionally, this goes back 6, 7, 8 years. Someone that I knew professionally, that I had a business relationship, and it wasn't directly with this person. I had a business relationship with a main business relationship with where we did some ads for a various client, and we would record the various people that worked at this business and run these ads, okay? So out of the clear blue, this lady disappears, and I won't say the circumstances why she disappeared. She got out of the employment. She became unemployed for a while because she had some health issues in her family, and she was taking care of some family members. So she reappears. So one day, she calls me up, and hadn't seen her in like 3 or 4 years at this point in time, and talked to me about doing some advertising. Well, that's not really what she wanted me to talk about. She wanted me to be her 1+, because she had become a swinger. And if you know if you know the swinger lifestyle, and once again, I didn't know this at the time, and she informed me this, there are events that the swingers go to, but you have to be coupled up. There are no single men or women allowed for the most part at some of these events, okay?
So she wanted you to pretend to be her real life partner to kind of fudge the rules so that she could get into these events.
Exactly. Now, the interesting part of this is this woman, and I will not divulge what industry she's in, she has a very legitimate day job, very legitimate day business, and once again, she has a very interesting nighttime activity, okay? And I say, I don't care. It doesn't bother me. As a matter of fact, the interesting part of it was she starts telling me all this stuff, and she starts saying, you would never know who's involved in this lifestyle. And I'm going like, and she starts telling me names. And some of these people I know. And I thought to myself, I had no idea. Now, for me, like my libertarian theory of, you can swing your fist as long as you want. I don't care. But when your fist hits my nose, that's when I care. And this is one of those things where I'm going like, yeah, hey, you know what? If whatever floats their boat I don't have a problem with it. I really don't. I don't think, to me, I can never imagine. I mean, if I was, and almost all these people were married. They were couples, swinging couples. I can't imagine if I have, I was married for a long time. I can't imagine that situation where, you can put together the idea behind what the swingers are up to.
Yeah, we don't have to say it. I agree. Let me interrupt real quick, Brad. I mean, other than I agree with you, and also there are men who enjoy being humiliated and who enjoy being subjugated. So I think for a percentage of people, that's a part of it. But Brad, a reason why I would tell her no is because if she's telling you the names of people who she sees there, what's to keep her from telling the next guy that she goes to about your name? Well, you get what I'm saying? She clearly can't keep a secret.
But the whole thing for me is like, you know what? Not for me. And, and once again, this is my thing, okay? I'm not a drinker, okay? But you know what? I don't have a problem with people that drink. Just don't drink and drive. That's all I ask. Yeah. Same thing with people, with the whole thing with the marijuana thing. I don't have a problem with that. Not my thing. Once again, perfect example. I had this procedure done yesterday at the dentist. They shot me with some painkiller. I was a zombie the rest of the day. And I mean, just sort of useless the rest of the day. At one point in time, I thought to myself, I'm not even going to drive anymore because let me interrupt, Brad. You don't like feeling like that, but for some people, that's their definition of bliss. Like they live for that high. I get it. And that's why I say, not my jam. You know what I mean?
Yep.
I mean, but
I know. I want to have all my faculties about me. I mean, I don't even drink. Like, I want to have all my faculties as much as whatever brain cells I have, I want to be able to utilize them.
Right. And, me being old and me being not in the best of shape and me being have 5 concussions, I want to take care of the brain cells I still have left. You know what I'm saying? And but once again, I don't care what this woman does, in her off time. I don't care. So that's why I think like the OnlyFans thing with the school teacher when she got, thrown out because of the fact that she had an OnlyFans account, I think that's wrong. I really do.
One of the best resources for this, we haven't mentioned this company in a couple months, but the company who purchased the Riverfront Times, a company called SEO Bounty. Brad, I dove down into the rabbit hole of their content, and they produce free guides for generally women. It's generally OnlyFans creators. But the idea is how to go about, and this isn't any vulgar or inappropriate language here, but how to get men to give you incrementally more money. And the concept of the SEO bounty programs, as I read them, is these women that are on OnlyFans, you have what you give to followers for free. You have what you give to them for a basic membership. But if they want to interact with you, Brad, and they want to have a little more contact with you, well, they need to buy the next highest level. And instead of paying $9.99 a month, they need to pay $14.99 a month. And that gives them direct messaging access to you, Brad, and maybe a few extra pictures. But the idea of OnlyFans, of being able to offer just a little bit more for a little bit more money, most creators don't make much money doing it, but the ones that do are so successful.
And it's about marketing and it's about upselling, just like you exactly said. And by the way,
and one of my favorite podcasts, which is called My First Million, it's an entrepreneur podcast. I listened to one where they had like the top OnlyFans creator, and they talked about the I guess it's multi-million she makes, and it's just that offering a little bit more, and whatever you produce for free is just the top of the funnel to get men to come in and say, I'd love to get a message from her.
And that's exactly how you have to say it, too.
That's exactly how you have to say it. Let's get back to Proposition A, though, Brad. Are you going to file some paperwork with Egbert to get a little sick time now that you cut your hand open?
Well, John, the crazy thing about this is the argument I have with people all the time that when they're very much into this, I go, okay, why not $100 an hour? Oh, well, that's ridiculous. Why? I mean, your point is you want to pay these people so they can afford a house and a nice car and a good life, right? Okay, at $15, that ain't going to do it anymore. I mean, it's not going to make it at $15. You're not going to be living, you're not going to be, and once again, we're blessed with the fact that we have relatively inexpensive real estate here in the St. Louis area. People go, how can you say that? Once again, you take a house, you take a 1,200 square foot house, let's say in Richmond Heights, and that's a $250,000, $300,000 house. In San Francisco, that house is $4 million, right? Am I kidding about that?
Yeah, absolutely. And you drop it down on Claudine, and it's $6 million.
My old street where they have the poor girl got the beat down. But the point being is that $15 an hour is not going to make or break anybody as far as like, oh, my God, we got that Proposition A, and Jimmy, who works the night shift at McDonald's, he was riding the work on a bicycle. Now he's got a brand new car, and he's got a condo, and he's taking 2 weeks off for vacation in the Bahamas. It's not going to do that, but the problem is everybody thinks that businesses are making tons of money. I deal with business owners all day long. I mean, that's who's on this radio station. Small business people. And some of them have still not recovered from the pandemic thing because you figure how many restaurants were shut down. I mean, I can still tell the story about Cyberg's that I went to out in Chesterfield Valley where they tried to buck the trend and at least employ some people. They had 3 people working out there. They had the manager, they had a lady taking phone orders, and they had the cook in the back. And they still were open their doors up. I would drive out to the one in Chesterfield. I'd phone my order in. The manager would come out and give me my food and take my payment. And I'm thinking to myself, why are you guys doing this? Because, locally owned company. And he essentially said, the ownership wants to try to keep some people employed, and we think that if we can maybe grow this angle of our business, that we can, maybe put some more people back on, put some people to work because we know people are hurting, they don't have a job. I love that idea.
I hate that. They should have just got a pandemic loan. They should have closed the door, got a pandemic loan, and then when the money runs out, say that they have an office in North City, and then get some St. Louis Development Corp money. I don't know. I think we just look at it differently, Brad. Why would you want to put effort in and employ people in a legitimate manner when you can just get some federal handouts?
So you're all about that ARPA money, right, John?
Oh, I'm all about it. Hey, you know what, though? The difference is, Brad, I'm unburdened by what has been. And I grew up in a middle-class family, so I'm unburdened by – I can't wait to see Kamala's speech today. She didn't have the energy to do it last night, so maybe she can come out and do it today, Brad. She sent a man out to do her work. Did you notice that? She didn't send a woman out to make the disappointing announcement.
It's funny you should say that because I'm not trying to diss on her, but I'm thinking to myself, maybe I'm dissing her. I'm thinking to myself, okay – shouldn't she come out and say, tears down her face? I mean, if I were her, if that were me, I would be heartbroken. But yet, by the same token, I think you owe it to the people going, you know what? We tried really hard. We were the underdogs, and we didn't quite make it. But you know what? There's always 2028. She didn't come out. Matter of fact, it's funny you should mention that because I saw this morning. I'm doing my normal show prep. One of the things I always go to is the second article on Babylon Bee. You know what the headline is?
No, what is it?
America unburdens itself from what has been. And the article says, Donald Trump has defeated Kamala Harris to become the next president of the United States, proving once and for all that Americans are ready to unburden themselves for what has been. Sources say the unburdening could lead to unprecedented levels of imagining what can be. Quote, Kamala was a huge burden, but now it's time for us to be unburdened, more unburdened than ever before, Donald Trump said as he addressed crowds at the Palm Beach Convention Center. She was so terrible. Now she's gone. She's a has-been. So sad. Maybe she can work at McDonald's now. Of course, he didn't say this. His supporters roared in approval, hanging onto every word as Trump reminded them of his plans for the first 100 days in office, now that the nation has been unburdened from Kamala's glaring incompetence. Is that funny stuff or what?
I can't wait to read reports, by the way, Brad, as we wrap up, from all the folks that came out and saw one of your advertisers, the St. Louis Business Expo. I can't wait to hear from the state health department how many people caught Hep C after going to a radio station booth.
Boy, thanks, John.
Remember, after you shake Brad's hand, lick your hand. You want to get as many platelets as possible into your system.
Well, if my hand stops bleeding, so we'll do it that way.
You can do a Bob Dole and shake with your left hand, Brad. It'd be great.
Say goodbye, John.
We'll see you guys tomorrow.
Thanks for checking out the Brad and John Show podcast. This segment of the show is brought to you by John Combest's book, Stalking, Harassment, Internet Trolling, A Guide to Recovering and Rebuilding After Online Attacks. It's a great reference if you've ever been the unfortunate target of a social media attack. It's available on Amazon. Just search John Combest. That's Combest, John Combest, and the book will show up in your search results. Now it's time for another segment of the Brad and John Show. Can you handle it?